Hey everyone, this program is going to be handling receiving customer information such as customer ID, customer quantity of cogs bought, and quantity of gears bought, and we're going to do some calculations within some methods. So let's go ahead and dive in. So in our receipt class, we have set public int data types that are called customer ID and so on, and we're going to be getting and setting information that we receive from our main method. And right here we are going to do the exact same thing with date time. We're going to be getting today's date that they are entering information such as customer quantities and ID. And then right here we are going to set private, and we're going to have them as double, and we're going to have them called sales tax percent, cog price, gear price. And within our receipt method, no parameters within this method. It is public, and it is going to be setting our getters and setter values to 0. And then, like I mentioned up here with our get date, we're going to be getting the today's date, and we're going to be setting that as sale date. And then right here we have constants that are described up here in our private. They're of type double, and they have their values. Within this public receipt method, we have 3 parameters within it, and they're all of type int, and we have named them as so. And within this method, we have this block of code right here that is setting our new customer ID values, and we're setting them as ID. And then right here, same thing. We have our constants, and these are the constant values. Within calculate total method, this is going to be the same as calculate tax amount and calculate net amount, but each of these different methods, though they are empty, they are the same because they are empty, but they have different things that go along with how they function. For example, calculate tax amount, we have this simple equation right here, and we're setting the equation equal to a variable who is of double type, and we're naming it tax amount, and we're returning this value to be used later on. And calculate net amount has its functionality where it has our if and else statements, and according to how many cogs there are or how many gears there are, we're going to apply the appropriate markup. And once we have all of this figured out, we're going to be moving on to this line of code, and it's going to execute, and then we're going to return our value that we get from this executed equation. And that is the same with calculate total method. And then our print receipt method is our what we're outputting to our user, the format that we're doing it. We're doing our format as so, which will reflect what a normal receipt will look like. And our print receipt, this is a very important method because we are going to be using the format with our main and putting our main, what data we get from our main, and placing it into the values that we have in these curly brackets. So if we'll move on to the main, scroll up to the top, we have a dictionary that we've created, and it has a key of int and a value of int. And then we are right here asking the user, would you like to input any data? If they do, while they say yes, do all of this code. And then we're going to run through, and it's going to ask the customer for some data, and it's going to be storing that data into integers. And those integers are going to be stored into our, this is where we're connecting our receipt class and our main class, and we're meshing those together and storing what we receive in one class into another. And then right here, this block of code is a for loop where it's iterating through until the user has decided that they don't want to input any more data. So while I is less than runs, which runs equals 1 so far because the customer has already said that they want to input data, it's going to be running through until the customer says no. And once they say no, it's going to be done adding these values into our dictionary. Once again, it'll ask the user, would you like to import more data? And the reason why we have 2 console write lines for the same thing, and what I mean by the same thing is asking the user the same thing as in, do you want to import more data, is because our first one was created outside of our while. And once we have entered into our while, we are in it until we are done, because I have nested all this code within our while. So if they say yes, it's going to run and it's going to be doing that same thing that we have gone through previously. If they say no, it's going to go through this else statement and go through all this code that I've nested inside of it, such as this right here. I have made 3 integers and I have named them as so, and I will be using them in our for each loop that is going to be enacted once the user inputs if they would like to input all customer ID, or print receipt for the day, or print receipt for the highest total. And once it stores it in this called input, we're going to be running through and we're going to be using these that we have created up here. So the for each is going to look at the value pairs within our dictionary, like I said, our key and our values, and it's going to be looking through every item within our dictionary that we have called dictionary for values. And it's going to go into this for loop, which does exactly what I described in the previous for loop, but this time it's going to be setting the keys into, like we're setting the key that I have set to 0 right here to the new key that the customer has inputted into our data, and we're storing it into a key and also a value. And remember, I said that dictionaries take 2, key and value. And then we are going to run through our if statement right here that has all these wonderful things nested inside. This first if is saying if the key that if a key in our dictionary equals what the customer ID that the user has wanted to print from up here, then we're going to do some nice mumbo jumbo, and we're going to use our print receipt to store that in a nice pretty receipt, and we're going to do the same throughout the other choices that we were able to select through this print statement. And that's it for this description.